Hi! Welcome to round 2 of us doing Cookbook Club around my French table, Dorie Greenspan. Last time we did the cheddar dill bread and the Paris mushroom soup. And today we are doing the roasted chicken and the chocolate mousse. So I'm so glad for you to join. We're gonna try to save it this time. And I'm gonna pass it over to Lee, who's gonna take us through the chicken, and then I'll take you through the mousse. And we're so excited that you're here.
Hi. Okay, y'all. Alston told me that some of you had requested that we make this dish, and some of you had said you'd made it before and said it was amazing. I was like, why in the world would we switch things up? I've been making Ina Garten's roast chicken for years, and they, you know, the one they dubbed engagement chicken. It is so good. It does not need to be changed at all. That recipe is amazing. And Alston's been making her spatchcock chicken for years. So we both kind of had a roast chicken in our repertoire that we loved. But I decided, you know what, we'll try it. So last Monday or 2 Mondays ago, my husband had come home from a trip and it was like 11 degrees outside. And I was like, I'm gonna just try this recipe, put this in the oven. It was so good, I made it again 3 nights later on Thursday night with no changes. It was just that amazing that we decided to try it again a couple nights later. So we're gonna go ahead and start. Now I'm gonna turn this down so y'all can see. Making a roast chicken is incredibly intimidating, especially if you've never done it before. I hope y'all can see this. What do you think? And I remember the first time I made a roast chicken, it was actually in a cooking class in New York City, so I had a little support. But I promise you, if you make this chicken a couple times, it won't be intimidating anymore. The bird, which is a little, you know, intimidating for people. But let's start. So she recommends that you olive oil the inside of your pan, which I've pretty much done, and you just rub it around all the way on all sides.
Oh no. Sorry, just go ahead.
Somebody has joined us, and I don't know how. Hello there.
All right, go ahead.
Okay, there we go. Okay, so we're going to rub around just through your hand and inside of a heavy bottom Dutch oven. And, you know, in the past, I'd always used a roasting pan, but this is actually a great tool for a roasted chicken. It kind of contains everything. There's not a lot of space. It's just really good. So you rub this around the whole pot. Then we're gonna take a couple slices of bread. You can use sourdough, you can use country loaf, you can use ciabatta, whatever you think. Now she calls for 2 slices in her recipe. I really think as many as you can fit in the bottom of this pan. And make sure you're not overlapping the bread. If you can see, you want every inch to coat the bottom of the pan because that makes it crispy and crusty and amazing. Don't skip the step. It's honestly so good. Okay, so then you're gonna take your chicken, and this is what gets people, it's a little intimidating. And you're gonna, I've got it here on the parchment paper just from the butcher shop. And you don't need to rinse the bird. A lot of people think they need to. That's like the intuitive thing to do is wash your bird or rinse your bird. You actually don't need to even do that. So skip that step. Take your paper towels and pat the bird dry as best you can.
And let it come to room temperature for a little while beforehand if you can, because it's going to help the meat really brown and not steam. So this has been on the counter for about 30 minutes. So
yeah. So then you're going to take inside, yeah, Alston's going to hold it up for me, inside the cavity. And then I'm going to show you what I do that makes it a little easier. I just go ahead and put my salt and pepper onto a paper towel. See, just rub your pepper, put your salt in there, and then you can kind of fold it and sprinkle it inside. Super easy. Done.
Such a good tip. Lee just told me this today, and I've never done it before. Okay, so what else is going to go inside?
So then you're going to take your herbs. You're going to take 1 sprig of each, the oregano, the thyme, and the rosemary. You're going to stuff that in. And then you're going to take a whole clove of garlic, which I've already cut completely in half. You can see here, okay? And you're going to take half of it and stuff that in the bird. You don't even need to unpeel it. That's it. Then you're going to place the bird right on top of your bread, okay? And now sometimes you can get these wings to kind of tuck under, and sometimes you can't. It kind of just depends. Maybe on the bird's wingspan, I'm not sure. Okay, now I'm going to take my kitchen twine, and this is important step 2 because it kind of keeps everything together.
This is going to make sure that your bird roasts evenly, that you don't get like, you know, your legs in your drumsticks cooking before the breast because they're less meat. A lot of times it just keeps it all together so it roasts evenly, the same way that they would tie together like a fillet so that it's kind of all the same thickness.
And just see if you can kind of get them to cross over like that too, just as tight as possible. Okay.
These wings are not going to tuck.
The wings are not really going to tuck, but that's all right. Okay, so you've got your bird here. It's all patted dry. It still feels a little wet to me, so I'm going to just pat it a little bit more. Okay, and then she doesn't recommend this step, but I've always done this, and I really like the way the crust, the skin gets really golden and amazing. So we decided to add our salt and our pepper to our room temperature butter. Again, she doesn't call for butter, but I think this is a really good step. And then we're just gonna smear it on.
So it's kind of almost like making a compound butter to rub on top of it.
Yeah. And just use your hands. I know it feels like.
Okay, Kim says, how do you know which is right side up? Any pro tips? Okay, so the anatomy of the chicken, the fleshy side is the best way I can describe it, is gonna be the breast. And then the less fleshy side that's more flat will be the back. It'll also have the bone that goes down the back. You definitely want to start with the breast side up. That's a good, yes, good.
Yeah, good. Breast needs to be up. We are going to flip
start.
the breast, Kim, and then I'll show you what we just did. Okay, so we've got this all buttered and amazing, right? A nice coating. There's salt and pepper in there. Now we're going to throw in our nut, just tuck it around the side, this other half of roasted garlic, and we're going to tuck in the herbs. Now, after that, we're going to pour in 2/3 a cup of white wine, like a dry white wine. And then she says to put in a few tablespoons of olive oil. I did around 4, and you can kind of eyeball it, or you can use your whatever, and you just kind of put it around the whole pan, okay? And honestly, this is what soaks into those pieces of bread and makes it so amazing. I'm telling you, the bread's the best part. Okay, I'm going to put in a little more. And then we are going to take out our bird that we already made for you first.
So you can see it.
So you can see it.
Y'all are going to be so impressed by this. It is so, look at that, golden and bubbly and amazing. That brown skin really is helped out by the fact that there's a lot of salt in the butter, because the salt really draws out the moisture from the skin and gives it this nice brown. Here, I'm going to make it even closer so you can really see it. So then this is, we move the macro. This is the next important part that she
recommends. So this part I had never done before, but it's actually a really good idea. You're going to take the whole bird out of this pot. Oh, something I didn't mention, which we're going to do in a minute, but you won't still be here for that, is your vegetables. So your shallots, your baby potatoes, and your carrots that you've cut up. You're going to drizzle these with olive oil, okay? Kind of mix them around, get them all coated, right? I don't know, 2 tablespoons is fine. You can even sprinkle them with a little salt if you want. Leave them in the bowl, and we're going to set the timer for 45 minutes. At 45 minutes, we're going to take the bird out, just set it on your stovetop, and then, you know, nestle these around your bird. Then you're going to set your timer again for another 45 minutes. Okay, now I'm going to try and take this bird out.
I literally brought over every single spatula that we have in the kitchen. I would use this.
Yeah, I'm going to put this in here.
But you don't want to pierce the skin too much because you don't want it to,
let's do this.
Here, let me try. I think I would use
Okay, Alston's going to try.
Okay. Okay.
I always get my husband inspired.
All right.
All right, now we're going to flip it over on its breast.
Okay, so flipping over the brown side.
And this is what she says gets all the juices kind of back into the breast, which is usually everyone's favorite part. Now we're going to also put a foil tint on top.
And then she does do this one little tip where she's like, you can raise the tail end. This would be the tail end with a little bowl. I think that bowl's even a little high, but stick it under there. Is there a smaller one?
Mm.
Anyway, to kind of get the juice to go downward, I would use something that's like shallow and whatever. You don't have to do that, but that was like one tip she had. But we're going to tint this because we didn't do that before.
I've never put the bowl underneath it. It's been great. So you tint that. You're going to leave that resting for about 10 minutes, okay?
And I just want to show you like what is in this amazingness. So all of these juices, you have your vegetables, and at the bottom is this
the bread.
Bread,
Let me show you
delicious
that
bread.
And
Delicious.
also, this is what my husband and I did. You see this garlic here, which is so good? We squeezed out, this is basically a head of roasted garlic. We squeezed out the roasted garlic cloves onto this amazing piece of bread. Now let's see if I can get this out. It's kind of tricky to get out, but it's fine.
I don't know where your real tongs are. I'm literally using your girl tongs, but I'm gonna just get out like the. That looks so good.
The bread is the best part. Look at that. And it's crunchy, and it's soaked up all the wine and all the olive oil and the chicken juices and everything. So don't skip that part. It's really the best.
And didn't you say that it was so good in the refrigerator, like the next day if you don't eat it all?
Yeah.
Which I don't know how you would be able to.
Don't toss it. Do not toss it if you don't eat the rest of the chicken or you want to save some for tomorrow. Honestly, don't toss it. Put the bread in the same little container and use it the next day. It's really delicious.
Okay. So there's a restaurant in San Francisco where I lived for many years, and Lee's husband lived there, called Zuni Cafe, and they do this amazing chicken over bread, and I'm super excited about that. So, okay, great. Well, we're going to let the chicken rest and get the juices back in, and we're going to make the chocolate mousse while that does rest. And so, just to tell you, I think that chocolate mousse is one of the most elegant desserts that you can make. And it's so incredibly, incredibly easy to make. I mean, it's just the way that the French do it. So it's, well, it was on the right page. But here, I'm going to tell you what we're going to start with. So I've got, this time we're doing, I love how in this cookbook she does a bunch of variations that you can use. And so we actually did this recipe at Christmas with a peppermint mocha, and it was so good. The one thing I will say is I tripled the recipe to serve 8 because, as the French do, they make these tiny little servings, and that's great and all, but I mean, we're in America and I feel like we need a little bit more food. So anyway, I'm making a single serving of this, which she says serves 4. I would say this serves 2 to 3. But it starts with putting some chocolate, and we're going to do orange this time. So I went ahead and put the orange zest right in the chocolate because that's going to bring the oils out when it warms. And I'm going to pop it in the oven or the microwave because she says you can do this over a double broiler, but I'm all about making life as easy as possible. So we're going to do it in the microwave, and we're going to cook this in 30-second intervals. Sorry, this is Lee's microwave. We make it. Yeah. Okay. So we're gonna do 30-second intervals. Whisk it to make sure that it's done with the orange zest inside of it. And then I have 3 eggs separated and at room temperature. And so I mentioned this last time. A great way to make the eggs room temperature is just to crack them and leave them out of their shell. They'll come to room temperature quicker. So the egg whites I have in the blender, and I'm going to whip these up for a second so you can see. And then while it's microwave. I need the rim. Sorry, we'll be right back. Let's see if there's any questions. Oh, someone said they love Zuni. It's the best. Do you leave the potatoes whole or can you have them? Okay. I'm going to answer the question, but it depends on the size of your potatoes. If your potatoes are big, cut them smaller. The potatoes we used are this size, and so we left them whole. But you can do either way. Okay, I answered it. No, you don't need it. Just put it out on your phone. Okay, if you're still with us after that long, awkward silence, our egg whites are now whipped to peak, and our chocolate and orange zest are both melting. And then I'm going to turn this back on just for like 20 seconds to add the sugar. This is all the sugar that's in this, so it's not a lot. There's a pinch of salt. I already added a pinch of salt in this. I'm going to add the sugar. And this is starting to get pretty melty, but you don't want to burn it, so let's do it in intervals. Let's do it 30 more seconds. Yeah, Lee's microwave is clearly like real hot. So much hotter than that. It would have been like melted in a second. Yeah, I really don't see any point in doing the double broiler when you can do it in the microwave. My mom always makes the best fudge cakes, and we have the recipe up on our feed. It is the most delicious treat you can make. I feel like my kids request it all the time, and we keep it in the freezer. But anyway, she always microwaves it in the microwave. There's just no need for this recipe, at least, to do double broiler. Okay, so the chocolate is all melted. Do you have a whisk?
Not yet. We need one more minute.
Oh, we need one more 30 seconds.
Yep, one more 30 seconds.
Okay, and so then as you can see, these have been whipped to like stiff peaks. And we are going to whisk them together. The key to this is folding, and I feel like if you've never folded egg whites into chocolate, it can feel a little bit overwhelming. But no, not yet. Okay, so first of all, here we have the melted chocolate and the orange zest. And I'm just going to whisk it till it's really smooth and like glassy looking. Okay, and then one at a time, I'm going to add, let me put it down. I'm going to add a yolk at a time. So I've got one yolk in here. I'm going to whisk this together. And it's kind of, I mean, obviously it's hot, so it's going to kind of cook the yolk. And then I'm going to add another, and it's going to get pretty thick. So one of mine was broken, so they're kind of all together. So we're going to do it in 2 stages, and no butter, no anything like that in our mousse recipe. And so here's our chocolate, just nice and smooth. Get it out of the whisk. Spray it all over the countertop. And then we're going to do the egg whites. So I think I actually said this on my last live, but whenever I see whisking in a recipe, it always reminds me of that Schitt's Creek episode where they're trying to make something and it talks about whisking it in, and they're like, or folding it in, and they're like, oh, David, you fold it in, and no one can figure out how to fold it in. Okay. So here's what it looks like at first. And so literally to fold, you just want to go around the outside of the bowl to gently, basically you don't want to break up all of the bubbles that and the air pockets that are in the egg whites, because that's what's going to make your mousse fluffy. And so we're just going to go around kind of until it gets incorporated, and just try to like avoid beating it together, which is what you would like be inclined to want to do. So this mousse will start off pretty liquidy, and then you can serve it right away. I mean, you could make this right before guests came over for a party. As you can see, it doesn't take long. I would never suggest waiting until after dinner to put together dessert, or any dish for that matter. But you can also do it in advance. It will get a little bit denser and a little bit thicker, and that part doesn't bother me at all. I actually like that texture. But if you don't want yours quite as dense, then my advice to you would be make it like right before people come over versus later. And I'm going to add a couple of drops of this orange extract since we're doing orange flavor. And I'm just going to keep folding it in until it's all combined. And then you can serve this in like a big, well, there's not a lot, as you can see, this is supposed to serve 4, but you can serve it in like a bigger bowl, or you can serve it in individual like martini glasses. If you're going to do that, my advice is don't take anything that's too deep, because you'll get chocolate all around the outside of your glass. So you want something shallow like a martini glass. Now, I'm not going to lie to y'all.
It doesn't.
Yeah. This mousse.
Something happened.
I feel like the chocolate like overly melted or something. But anyway, we're going to go with it. Mine was a little, where's the whisk?
Right here.
I'm just going to do a little whisk and see what it looks like. It's just a little.
Something happened.
Well,
let's taste it.
I'm going to do what you're not supposed to do.
Oh my God.
Because let's be real. They always have to like,
just trial and error.
Trial and error.
Although we've made this before.
Like many times. But you know, if that was the case, here what I'm doing. Like, we're just going to go with it. And look, I mean, now it's kind of gorgeous. I had to whisk. So it just was that moment, and I made the call.
You want this?
No, yeah, I do want that. Switch. And this is actually beautiful. And Lisa, how's it taste?
So good.
Okay, so you're good. You're golden. Sometimes things don't turn out perfectly, especially for the Instagram
It doesn't
live.
look right, but it tastes.
So I just whisked it for about, I don't know, 10 seconds because it was like feeling clumpy.
It needed it.
So
I'm just gonna lick that.
okay. Oh gosh, it's delicious. Okay, so I love these in these little glasses, and you can put them in the refrigerator. Just top each one with like a little individual piece of saran wrap, and then serve it with like a little whipped cream or creme fraiche or a little orange slice or something like that.
A little orange.
And you can do this totally in advance. I love this dessert.
Yeah.
Okay, let's cut the chicken.
Oh yeah, let's show you how to do that.
So,
All right, so it's been resting for about, let's hope, 10 minutes. We're gonna bring it back over, and we're gonna flip it back over. And now it should be cool enough to handle.
oh,
Got a little juice.
we get a little juice.
Sorry.
Hold on. Okay.
Let's see, I'm gonna just flip it with my hands.
Smells so good.
Okay, and I'm gonna get you a sharp knife here.
Okay. So this is, I feel like, the second part of a chicken that is overwhelming sometimes to people, how to cut the chicken up. So the first thing you want to do is cut the legs off. And so
get your platter.
there's a line here in between the legs and the breast. And it's honestly should be super easy to just pop right out. Okay. So the first thing I'm going to do is cut down that line, and you can see that they're totally separated, right? And then when they're cooked and they're nice and cooked, they're easy to just pop up. So here we have your leg and your thigh together. So if you wanted to separate them, you could put them on the platter together. If you want to separate them, all you need to do with a sharp knife is literally just find that bone, go right to the side of the, wherever the leg bone meets the thigh bone, and then just cut it. So you have your chicken thigh and your chicken breast. Then when I cut the breast, there's a bone in the middle. I like to kind of cut around it on both sides. And just, the key is just like a sharp big knife. Push down, use the weight of your hand, push down. You can see that we have all of the stuff that was on the inside, right? And then we're gonna turn it to the side, cut the wing off. Just following, you know, basically the bones. I don't ever eat the wings. My mom loves the wings, but there's the wing. And then I normally cut the breast in half. So, because
How is it cooked? Good?
oh, it's perfect.
Oh yeah? Okay, good.
So,
You can always use a meat thermometer to kind of check if you're a little nervous.
why don't we put some of the vegetables on the plate? Show how we plate the whole thing out. So I would serve this, like honestly, everything just on the same plate. I would put the bread on the plate. I would put all of the vegetables on the plate, and just stick it all on there. Serve it on the table, family style. Like that's a perfect
Sometimes the
casual dinner party, family over on a Sunday afternoon, hang out with your fam. At Zuni Cafe, they serve this oftentimes over like a bed of arugula. I think that would be good too. You can put like a little dressed arugula underneath it, put the chicken pieces on top, kind of pour the juices on top. Also delicious.
And the bread kind of falls apart, honestly. Sometimes it doesn't, sometimes it doesn't. That's okay.
Okay, so this is the backbone. I just cut this out. And so here's the other breast. I'm gonna cut this one in half as well. And so here we go. So hopefully y'all will make this recipe. We would love for everyone to make the whole menu that we put together. Most importantly, hopefully it brings you joy. Have great meal memories with your family. I mean, look at this garlic, y'all. You can just squeeze,
And you
all
squeeze
of
it
it
out, and you put it on
the bread.
Toast, which is so
I'll put it on the bread. I would like literally just squeeze everything over. Spoon the broth all over the chicken. Anyway, so those are our two recipes for today. Hopefully watching us make them, also watching us mess up parts of them or struggle with parts of them, shows you that this process is actually pretty easy and you can do it too. Tag Habitually Cooking on all of your recipes that you make and enjoy.
Yeah.
See you next time.
Try it. I promise you'll love it.
Yeah, you gotta push it off with your non-chicken hand.
Oh. I still have kind of a chicken hand. This
Chicken pinky, I don't know. Touch the bottom. I can't do it. Hold on. Let me wash my hands real quick.
Are you sure you